Chapter.
Yeah, this movie was really good. A couple times I've watched it, it's really deep. Anyone that likes real good filmmaking should check this out.
That was beyond powerful. Beyond powerful. Beyond powerful. Take my hat off to Omar and Dean Chad, and being the educator. I know this is going to enlighten, educate. I got 4 daughters, 14, 13, 11, and 8. I'm 53, going on 54, so I have to instill in them rest of this, because, in 10 years, she's going to be 18, and I'm going to be 64. But I have to instill in them what to fight for, who not to trust, because in so many challenges and opportunities, daddy's not going to be there. Mm-hmm. But immense, powerful storytelling, and I just like my 14-year-old to say, how did it move you, Timmy?
Well, for me, I really enjoyed the acting. I liked the storyline, how you got everything of her story in like a short span of time. I also like how she kept positive at the end despite the struggle she went through. And that's pretty much what I really enjoyed about it.
But beyond powerful, my wife, her father was a heroin addict. So I remember the stories of him going in the bathroom and him not coming out. And she'll want her father to come out. And, I'll let her tell her own stories. Right here. I'll move.
You got a story tell.
Sorry, it's a lot of us in here. I just want to say, again, excellent job in the storytelling. The story greatly resonated with me. When I watched it, I was compelled to leave a comment on Dame Dash TV because I want other people to understand that this is a tool of healing. And this is something that, used in ministry. Other people's stories, it always brings a healing to you where you think, no one is listening. So I want to thank you for giving eyes and ears to those who people often forget about, which is the child of an addict. I like the fact that it came from the perspective of the child. I wrote an autobiographical poem a couple years back that talked about what I went through with my dad being a heroin addict and the fact that he wasn't married when he died, so everything fell on me, like literally. I was only like 19. And so I didn't know what to do with that. It's like, what do I do? How do I pick out a casket at 19? Like, what am I doing burying my father? And so, the scene with the little girl finding her mother in the bathroom, just brought tears to my eyes because I remember my dad promised to take me to the movies. It was 3 p.m. He was in the bathroom till like 10 p.m. that night. And it was like, why me? Why is this going on? But everything that I went through, and when she said in the end, don't lose faith, you matter, that's what pushed me into ministry. And so what I wrote under the comment on the movie was, this was beyond powerful, and I've shared many similarities with Destiny growing up in the crack era and being subjected to it via family members, start with my own dad, to my uncles, my aunts, and my neighbors. This was an excellent way to tell a story in such a short time frame. It gives hope to young boys and young girls who feel alone in the world. As a pastor, I applaud you both, the storytellers, and the story of the person who lived to tell their story. This is ministry and this is healing. What I want to say to you guys is you've done something beyond powerful in bringing healing to someone who might not have a voice, but they can connect in a very strong way. So thank you very much. Even the now laters. The now laters got me through a lot. Hey, give me a now later. I'm going to be all right if I can have me a tropical punch now later. So thank you guys. I appreciate your ministry to others.
Thank you.
But once again, I want to let somebody else chime in. I'll go to Doc. Dr. Fox Chris, you got to unmute.
Hi, how are you? So I'm both a public health physician and an apostle, so I'm ordained in ministry. And so when I look at art at how we can inform societies, or how we can inform systems, and how we can inform persons how to be resilient. What does recovery look like? What does it feel like? And what is the power of art or narrative in helping someone to journey from one point to a next point? And so I can appreciate that in your storytelling. The power of storytelling really can ignite a sense of possibility or a sense of purpose in someone else. And what we know now that we didn't know when the crack epidemic, and it really was an epidemic, struck the Black and brown communities, what we didn't know then is that children have been exposed to what we call toxic trauma, toxic stress, right? And that has changed not just how they have matured or how they became into adults, but some of those effects of what happened to them as children has led to health outcomes in their adulthood, not just how they interact with other people, but actually what diseases that they are susceptible to and at risk for. And what I want to ask you is, how can we in public health, how can we right? Oftentimes we have to turn a light on to expose, but then how do we reach someone else through art who might be living this story right now? And how do we create an outlet or a pathway to process or deal with that trauma so we can get them into recovery and healing sooner?
Yeah, I appreciate that, all the comments thus far. To answer that question, and also like I mentioned earlier, being in education, Brother Omar's in education as well. The first thing we do is things like this, where it has to be visual and tangible, right? So you think about hip hop, how that even started. It was an outlet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you can't sit and give a seminar about the brain structure and how trauma affects it and emotional intelligence, because people are going to be bored. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we have to do it in a way where it's engaging. Even me being a Christian, everything still has to be authentic. So the dialogue is going to be some curses, it's going to be violence, it's going to be real, the situations. Right. You know what I mean? And when we had a chance to speak with Dane last week, we talked about, like, it also has to be digestible, right? So case in point, if we show all the trauma up front in the first 2 minutes, and you weren't there, we had a screening in LA. An older woman, she walked out early. It was too much for her. But if we put all of that too early up front, people can't even get to the messages. So you have to be very strategic about how we're telling these stories, knowing that you're dealing with some heavy things. You have to find the moments with annihilators and things that people can resonate with. You know what I mean? So like we talk about the crack epidemic, but that's not everything that happened in the 80s. You know what I mean? You got to have some songs in there that people resonate with. So like you got to bring them in order to defeat them. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, yes it does. And it actually leads to just, I ask it to give you an opportunity to really be instructive for people who are here, because we believe in the power of art, right? We believe in the power of art to take them somewhere they may not be.
What's up, y'all? So I'm doing the screening right now.
Before, so when I was doing some of my training and I was working in Baltimore for Johns Hopkins when I was a preventive medicine resident and fellow, I did a project with adolescents, and we gave them cameras. At first, we had grad students teach them how to use cameras, and then we gave them cameras. And we said, I want you to take a picture of what you encounter on your walk to school. I want you to start taking pictures from the moment you leave your door until you arrive at the door of your school. And those pictures were more convincing than the researcher from Johns Hopkins when we blew them up and took them into a planning commission. That was the art. That was the art that told a story that said there were too many abandoned buildings that these kids passed, too many crime scenes, too many alcohol stores, and I love to have conversations about that, because we have to know how to harness art, and hip hop has been excellent at that, right? This is Hip Hop America. Hip hop has been excellent at harnessing even trauma, harnessing even the beauty, the beautiful struggle, and how can we teach our children how to be those storytellers, those documentarians, so that they can begin to break free and help others break free.
And I'm sorry, I got to comment on that too really quickly. The other side of that, because we did something similar in one of my schools, is when I first started in education. I was at a middle school, and it was an after-care program, and the kids were just drawing pictures of their neighborhood. That school that I worked at, it was on the same block as 2 liquor stores, and a block away from it was a strip club. And a lot of those kids put those illustrations in the picture. And it's like, I talk to teachers all the time, there's a lot that you have to unpack. Mm-hmm. When a student comes into that building. There's a lot of things they've already seen at 8 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? So that's why these conversations are so important, because art is freedom, but also it's communication. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Apostle Allison. I loved this morning earlier, I heard this guy on MSNBC, and I missed his name, but I caught the part where he was talking about his mother, and he was saying what he learned from his mother was that everyone has a gift to give, and the way you get that gift out of them is everyone needs somebody to love them. And I like that Destiny, she had been wronged by people in her life. You saw where the foster brother took advantage of her, but then she was shown love by the young brother Mike, who then introduced her to the producer because he saw something in her. And it was powerful how you put how the grandmother described her as an elephant, and she didn't get it at first. And then if you understand the gestational period of an elephant and how it goes through a long process, but then look at what it produces, I thought that was just very powerful.
I appreciate that. I want Brother O to speak to this. I'll lead you into this one. But like the elephant thing, and I said this last time, ironically, I was in church when that word came up about the elephant. So you never know how these things are going to move. I wasn't even in the middle of writing this film. That was just regular sermon. And I was like, man, that's a nugget. You know, later on, things happen. But Brother O, who was also one of the producers on this film, executive producers on this film, him being the producer at the end, how important his role was, because he's also close to Ty, who we're telling this story about. So I wanted him, like, if you could speak to how that was for you with that relationship.
Yeah, so when Ty first told me about the book, she said, look, I want to write my life story, and I'm trying to figure out how to go about it. And so I just told her, I said, listen, just write whatever memories you have, whatever's going on, just jot it down. And she started that journey. And when she finished, she brought the book to me, and I sat down and I read it. And we had been in the middle of another film that we were doing that me and Chad were involved with. And I said to Todd, I said, you know what? We're going to do the film. We're going to make this into a film because your story needs to be heard. It needs to be heard, and it needs to be a tool to help those who have been in similar situations. And she sent it to Chad, and we just started to, put this situation together. We started to put the film together, and it just made all the sense in the world. The particular character that she wanted me to play, who was Benny, he gave her, that was like the turning point of her life, and he gave her an opportunity to just make everything that happened in the past make sense for her in the future. And it was,
so again,
just doing the film itself was very emotional. It was definitely a priority.
The content that I put on my network is socially conscious. It's things that will evolve us, heal us, and it's not bubblegum shit. And it stimulates conversation. So these conversations should be had. Understanding how to avoid certain situations should be had. understanding how to make art where it helps you. You know, that's the only way that I want to entertain. If it evolves us, helps us. And I have a platform for other filmmakers. So that's what this is all about. And, you know, I'm going to continue to do this and figure out innovative ways to spread the word, you know, while this circumstance is going on. So I hope y'all enjoy it. If y'all want to see the short film, go to Dane-Studio.